up, guys? I had a dream a couple weeks ago, and I really wanted to talk with y'all about it. It's hard to do these videos because it takes time to build that courage up to want to do it, because I don't want to fail and say something wrong. But it wasn't too long ago. It was about a week and a half ago that I had this dream. And in the dream, I couldn't really figure out why I was having it. Like, I had my own interpretation, but then I wanted to also sit and talk with my friend Jake before I even posted anything about it on Facebook or even said anything to anybody. You know, I wanted to have that chance to congregate with someone who I feel can see things in a spiritual way, the way that I can. And honestly, my interpretation of it and what he felt it was, both of them really made sense to me. So I took a chance to really understand both of them, and hopefully one of them will be able to help somebody out. Now, in this dream, I know no one. I don't honestly, they say you can't dream about someone if you've never seen their face, so these just have to be people I've walked by in public, because I have no idea who the people are in this dream. Now, this dream is somewhat X-rated, which I'm not gonna go into detail, be like, oh, I was doing this and touching this. I'm not gonna be all like that, no. But it is an X-rated dream. And in the dream, I was in first person view. And if somebody doesn't know what first person is, for a gamer or anything like that, they'll understand what that means. But first person is where it's like you're living in your body. First person view is you're looking out at yourself. You see your hands and everything like that. And third person view is where you're looking down at the person that you're playing. So first person is you being you. Third person is you watching you. Okay? So I was in first person view in this dream at first, and I was talking to this girl, and we were in her bedroom, and her parents were in the room right next to us. I guess it was the living room or whatever. And I was talking to this girl and trying to get her to have sex with me, but she was a virgin. She didn't want to do it, especially not with her parents right there. She just didn't feel comfortable. But I pressed on, and I was like, oh, come on, and I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until finally she decided she was going to give in to me. And so I get her to, not get completely undressed, but I get her to pull her stuff off, and we start doing it. I look in the next room, her parents ain't paying attention, and I start going at it. We start having sex and everything like that. And at first, she's like, it really hurts. But of course, being a virgin, that's what happens. But I tell her, man, I get aggressive and just uncaring, and I'm like, just push through it. It'll feel better. And I'm steady going. I have no care in the world about her pain or how she feels. And after a little bit, it's like she completely became a whole new person. She's in there trying to talk dirty to me and everything like this. I'm like, shut up. I don't want them to come in here and hear us. I'm trying to get this. I'm telling her shut up. She's like, God, I want to talk bad, dirty to you so bad. I love your blah, blah, blah. Trying to talk as dirty as she can. She's like, I want to scream out your name. I want to scream how much I love you, blah, blah. She completely went from this innocent virgin that didn't want to do anything to something you would see out of a pornography. And we're steady going at it for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, her parents walk in. Well, I assume it's her parents. But these people walk in, and we stop. But instead of getting angry, instead of getting upset and being like, oh my God, what is going on? They start talking to the girl like they don't even notice what's going on. And when they just start talking to her, I pull out. And the second that I pull out, I go into third person view, and I'm looking down, and the guy that I was in first person of is not me. It's somebody I've never seen in my life. And he covers himself, and he runs out of the room, and he goes around them to the bathroom. And the second that he goes in the bathroom and shuts the door and locks it, the second that door locks, I drop back down into first person view. And when I do, I feel just so much anxiety and fear, and just I feel so afraid of everything at that point in time. And then I wake up. Now, before I tell my interpretation of the dream, my friend Jake, I asked him what he thought, and he said it could be the possibility that since you are becoming more of God, you're trying to get away from porn, and your addiction towards lust and everything, this could be the only way the enemy is able to get to you. When you throw that away, there's the possibility of the enemy attacking you in your dreams. And he said, I've experienced this before too. And that's a possible way that he could be doing it, is to get you to fall into the old ways through your dreams, get you aroused, get you feeling certain ways to where when you wake up, you'll have this desire to want to go do this. And that's possibly what this could be. And that makes a lot of sense, because I'm currently, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm getting over the fact of wanting to watch porn, feeling the need to go do that. And it makes a lot of sense, because I used to really, really, really be addicted to porn, really, really bad. But now that I'm getting rid of it, of course my mind is going to go to it the only way that it can, and that's in a dream. And it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. But my interpretation was a little bit different. I felt like the dream was meant to give meaning to how the world has become. And I say this because when you look at it, there will be several different interpretations as I go through the dream, okay? With it starting off, you have the sinful person who is wanting to have sex, he's wanting to do these things, so he's preying on the innocent. And my sins are mine. So, and she's never sinned. So now I'm the sinful man. I'm trying to get her to do what I want to do. So I'm pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until she finally caves in and gives in. And she goes from this innocent person to where my sin has become her sin, and it changes her, meaning sin spreads. And that's the whole point of that first part of that dream, where I talked her into doing it, got her to do it, and then she started talking like she was in a porno. Sin spreads and contaminates and destroys. And it creates different types of people. It creates just bad people. And I feel like that is what that first part is representing. And then when the parents walk in, they see us doing it, but they start talking to her and act like they don't acknowledge it. They don't see it. They're not paying attention to it. They're not going to say anything about it. And I feel like this is a big thing, because nowadays we don't acknowledge sin the way that we used to. To sin is bad, but it's become such a point in today's society that sin is a joke. I mean, you have devils, food, cake. I mean, everything. It's a game. People just walk past sin as, oh, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not worried about it. I have no reason to acknowledge it. Just we'll let them deal with it. And I feel like that's what that represented, is them coming in, seeing it, but not acknowledging it. They know it's there. They see it. They're looking straight at me doing it. And they're just like, oh. Anyway, so this is why I was wanting to talk. It's just, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to pay attention to it. It doesn't have to do with me, so I'll let it happen to them. And I feel the reason after that I went to third person view is because the biggest part in society nowadays, besides ignoring the sin, is we can't take responsibility for ourselves. When I left the body, because when I was in first person, I was me. I was able to feel everything. I was, as weird as it is to say that, I was actually able to feel everything in this dream. Then when I go to third person, I feel nothing. I'm calm, just looking down like, oh man, what's going on? And the guy's a completely different person. And I feel like that's a representation of we don't want to take responsibility for ourselves. We're willing to dabble in sin. We're willing to go over here and take part in it. But if there's a chance of us getting caught or we get caught, we're going to let this person take the blame. It's like, oh man, we weren't a part of that. I mean, he dragged me over here. He did this. And I mean, that's everything that's happening today. When you look at it, you look at all the cop stuff. You look at everything that's going on nowadays. It's all him. That's why I did this. Him. And I feel like that's what that is representing. I left the body to where he could get in trouble and I wouldn't. And when he runs out of there, of course, that's the shame. That's you feeling shame for what you got caught doing because you know it's wrong. So that's the shame, that's the guilt and the just horrible feeling of getting caught doing something you shouldn't be doing. And then when the man gets into the bathroom and he locks the door and I come back in and I feel that anxiety and all that depression and fear, I feel that's a representation of what it is and what it feels like when you know you've done something wrong. You know for a fact what you're doing is wrong. You did it anyways. You got caught. There's a chance you can get in trouble, and all of that builds up, and you know you did it. And not only that, a lot of it is the Christian people, the religious people that are doing it, and I feel like that was a real representation of more than just the world nowadays being fear of getting in trouble. I feel it was a representation of the Christian people and the religious community dabbling in this sin, and they feel in their heart, they're like, oh my God, this is wrong. Oh my God, I can't, it's like, man, God, you're going to catch me in the wrong. I did wrong, but please forgive me. I know I did it. I know I was wrong. And it's like we commit the problems, we commit the sins, we do these things knowing that it's wrong, and then that's when we feel anxious, we feel afraid because it's like, oh crap, dude, I just messed up. Oh my God. Oh snap. And that's where it comes in, that anxiety feeling. And that was my dream. And I feel altogether the dream is a representation of telling us that sin spreads very easily and it changes the world, and it's slowly changing the world to the point that we don't even pay attention to it anymore. We let it slide, we ignore it and act like it's not happening because we're afraid of getting in trouble ourselves, so we'd rather let somebody else get in trouble instead of standing up and doing something about the sin. And when it's all said and done, we know we're going to get in trouble. We know that bad is going to happen. We know that we're being watched. We know that there's consequences. And I feel like that's basically what the dream was saying, is that we need to stop ignoring what's going on, because the sin is infecting the world, and it's been infecting the world for a long time, and we need to fight back instead of just ignoring it and letting other people take the blame, blaming other people and just trying to run from our problems, because we know deep down in our heart that God is watching, and if we don't do something about it, we all know where we're going to end up, and that's hell. We all know it. And honestly, I feel that's what the dream is honestly talking about. Is that just truth right there? That we all need to come together and stop ignoring sin. That we all need to communicate with each other and stop letting the sin drag us down. We need to not give into it. Don't give in to the sin that is pushing on you more and more and more, trying to drag you down, because it's going to change you. It's going to backslide you back to the person that you used to be. So don't give in, and don't ignore the sin that's going on around you. Stand up, stop it, say something, be better than that sin. Don't let somebody else fall and just ignore it and blame somebody else in the end when it all happens, because you're just as responsible as the person doing it. Because if you just watch and let it go, you committed just as much sin as the person that did it themselves. In God's eyes, it's all the same. And I'm guilty of it as well. I'm not here to judge and talk bad about anybody or anything like that. I'm guilty of this as well. And it's something I need to work on as well. But it's something we all need to work on. It's something we all need to come together and do to stop in this crazy world. And it's not only that. I feel I needed to give this a little bit of encouragement for you guys. Me and my friend Zach used to work for this company called QRS. We built wooden reels for an electrical company, and they put their wires on it. And we were talking about one day about biblical stuff and why sex before marriage was bad. And I don't remember the link that he found or the site that he went to, but it was a site that was talking about what it means to have sex before marriage and what sex actually is. And sex is where two people come together more than just physically, but spiritually. I mean, you're giving yourself to someone. I mean, you're going inside someone and giving yourself to them. And they're giving themselves to you. So every time that you have sex, you create an emotional attachment. Even if you don't admit it, there is some type of attachment that's there. So you unknowingly leave a piece of yourself behind. And the more people that you have sex with, like nowadays is happening, the more and more you lose yourself. So when it comes to settling down, getting married, that's why marriages don't work nowadays. That's why you don't see very many people getting married, because they can't stay committed to this one person. They can't give all of their self to you because they've lost their self in all these other people that they slept with. And I really agreed with that. I mean, I have a friend who struggles with that. He struggles with being with one person because he's been with 100 something women. And he's just like, man, I can't stay with one girl, man. A girl, they just aggravate me. He's like, I just can't do it. But he's lost himself to all these different women. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense considering that sex is supposed to be something spiritual that God has given for a man and a woman to connect and become one and create something. You know, so when you become one and then you separate and go to someone else, you've left that behind. So you've left this behind. Now you're going over here. Well, now you're leaving this behind. Now you're going over here. You leave this behind. So you only have 5 pieces. All this is attached to something. Well, you go to be with somebody forever. All you can give them is this little bit. Of all of this right here, you can only give them this. And you can't give them all of you. You can't give 100% of yourself if you only have 20%. So I feel like this was another chance for me to talk about this because this really weighed heavy on my heart when I almost finished posting this on Facebook about a week and a half ago. It weighed heavy on my heart and stopped me from posting. And I feel like this is a good thing to talk about because there's a lot of lust nowadays. There's a lot of premarital sex, just going out, having fun. I mean, the whole world, it's all about sex right now. Twerking, just ridiculousness. I mean, the clothes people wear, it's ridiculous. It's nasty. It's disgusting. There's no mystery. There's no eloquence. There's nothing, man. It's gross. And it's pathetic, man. I don't see how this is. Then again, I understand it's the devil, but I feel like this dream was also a way to say, you know, how we lose ourselves to all of this, to sex and everything like that. You lose a piece of yourself, guys. So stop and wait until marriage to have sex. It will mean so much more, and you will be 10 times happier. And guys, we got to stop ignoring sin. We have to stand up. We can't just let it go because sin is slowly consuming the world, and it's spreading. It's spreading like crazy, and we have to stop it. We have to save people, because if we don't step out in faith, then who else will? God uses us to bring people to Him. So we need to listen to God's voice, and we need to hear what He's telling us to do, and we need to go do it. Am I perfect? No, I'm not hating on anybody. This is something we all need to work on. We all struggle. But if we all work and help each other out to build others up, to bring Christ's family back together, that's what it's about. So guys, hopefully this video will help somebody out there. Maybe if you want, share it to help someone that you know that's struggling with sex, with sin, with the troubles of nowadays. Hopefully this will speak to you. God loves you. I love you. And I hope everybody has a blessed evening.